everyone, I'm Deb Tuff. Welcome to the beautiful Gas South Theater. Oh my goodness, look at this place. Love being here. Today I'm excited to introduce someone who's made a lasting impact, not just on Gwinnett County, but we're talking about Metro Atlanta. Y'all, we're talking about the state of Georgia. I'm talking about the great Stan Hall. From his early days in the criminal justice and judicial arenas as director of the Victim Witness Program for the Gwinnett Judicial Circuit to his leadership in sports and entertainment, Stan's career is a testimony to adaptability, resilience, and of course, vision. Have to have a lot of that, and we'll get into that discussion. Now, as president and CEO of Gas South District, he continues to drive economic growth and community engagement. We'll talk about leadership, decision-making, and what it takes to navigate change in a fast-paced industry. So let's get right into it, Stan. I'm so excited to talk to you. We have been talking about this for 4 years. We're here, Stan.
We are here, and I'm excited about it. I'm a little bit starstruck with you being a multi-Emmy Award winner such as yourself. So I am excited about it, and thank you for allowing this to take place today.
Thank you, Stan. Now, what I love about your career is that you've always been able to shift, and you're not scared of change.
Nope.
You started as an officer in the Gwinnett Police, then went on to work for former DA Danny Porter as a criminal investigator before you came to what was then the Gwinnett Civic Center. That's quite a shift. How were you able to ebb and flow so seamlessly?
So I assume you're saying that's not the normal route. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
It's probably not as strange as you may think. The opportunity to come through the system as you described has been beneficial to me in so many ways, even up until today. It was very important to me to go through that process. The transition between law enforcement and judicial to what I do today is probably not as fascinating or odd as you think it might be. When I was in the district attorney's office, I sat on the board of directors for the Convention and Visitors Bureau, which oversees Gas South District, the Mitsubishi Electric Classic, Coolray Field, all those things that are assets of this organization. So I did have some foundational knowledge about the workings of the organization. I knew some of the key staff members here already. So it was maybe a bit odd, but not perhaps as odd as you may think. But all of that came in a manner that was just perfect timing for me. And the transition, it took a little bit of getting used to, but it was relatively smooth as far as I'm concerned.
And it helped shape your leadership style. How did working with the DA's Victims Unit shape the way you lead today? And do you find yourself applying any of those lessons in your role at Gas South?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you are at all familiar with the world of criminal justice, and particularly on the judicial side, anybody you deal with are not there because they want to be there. If you think about crime victims, they're only there because of the victimization that occurred to them to bring them to that scenario, if you will. And then on the other side, the people who committed the crime most certainly don't want to be there. So it's a much darker atmosphere than what I'm dealing with today, thank God. But the thing that really resonates with me that has certainly been a carryover from that world is the ability to listen to people. No matter how bad somebody's hurting, if they feel like you hear what they're saying, that you're sympathetic, you're empathetic, whatever it takes for that particular case, it goes a long way in that relationship you have with a person who is really struggling for really sometimes terrible things that have happened. So the ability to listen to people, not only listen, but hear what they're saying and then try to take some action based on the things that are going on in their lives is something that I hope that I still do every day in this organization with our staff, is just to try to listen to what they think, hear what they say, and most often they come up with ideas that are better than yours. So it's a very strong connection to a former world that I use today with just simply the ability to listen to people.
And people come with challenges. People come with issues, great, big, small. I'm sure on this side, when you are the DA side, obviously, when you were officer, obviously. What were some challenges that you faced in either of those worlds, and how did you overcome them? What lessons did you learn from them?
Well, I just think that no two people are alike. And, people fall into certain categories that are in their comfort zone. But still, even having said that, no two people are alike. And I think I'll use our staff as the example now, getting to know each one of them as well as you can. And we've got a pretty big staff here. So it is hard to spend, a large amount of time with each one. But simply getting to know each one of them, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what their passions are. Once you establish that and you're able to gain some knowledge about each and every one of them as much as you can, it makes that relationship much, much easier. Learning about their family, learning about their hobbies, and again, listening to what they think is important for the organization. Sometimes leaders in their capacity think they're the only ones who have great ideas. That's never been the case here. I've got plenty of ideas, but some of them are awful, I can tell you. So hearing what they think are good ideas for the organization and molding that with whatever your vision is really the secret to me as far as getting along with your staff and understanding what's best for the whole organization.
And vision. It's taken a lot of vision for Gas South to get where it is today. 14 years ago, you took over the reins when it was Gwinnett Civic Center, then Infinite Energy and Gas South here within the last 4 years. So it's a huge part of Gwinnett's identity. What's been the most exciting part of leading it?
Well, as much as I would like to take credit for the overall vision that this organization had and still has, this organization has known great leadership since day one, really. If you think about the people who have been in varied leadership roles in this organization, much of the success that we're seeing today was 100% a product of an idea that might have happened 15, 16, 20 years ago. Not only in this organization, but we are joined at the hip with Gwinnett County. And the leadership, that Gwinnett County's had, not only with our current Board of Commissioners and our current chairwoman of our board, whom is on our board now, but even if you go back several administrations, they've all been part of this Gas South District, or as you said at that point in the beginning, the Gwinnett Center and all things that it was and all things that it has become. So much credit has to be given before I even step foot on this campus, and has made my job much, much easier. But since being here, trying to realize those visions that were before me and then establishing those visions since I've been here, my predecessor, Preston Williams, who was a CEO, really taught me so much about trying to understand this business. Again, coming from a world that was much different as far as the industry is concerned. Right. He taught me so much, and I'll always be thankful for him for what he did. But now taking those initial ideas and then moving them forward, in the next 10 years and the next 20 years for people that will be here when I'm gone, and just trying to make sure that they have the same opportunities based on clear planning that I had when I came over. So, we've got a lot of things going on right now, but so much of it does go back to the past that have allowed us to be where we are today.
It's the foundation.
100%.
And you talked about the industry keeps changing. You talked about has become what it is. What will it be 20 years from now? Where do you want Gas South?
Well, I want Gas South to be at the top of the heap.
Yeah.
I can tell you that for sure. But even in the 14 years that I've been here, the industry continues to evolve. The things that we're trying to do here is most often a reaction or proactive to trying to be as competitive as we can be in the market. Whatever that competitive component is, we want to make sure that we're doing it and that we're doing it very well, and we want to be the best at it. And I think we do have the staff in place to take us to wherever that next step might be as far as this industry is concerned, but it does continue to change. There's so many components of it that are controlled by a small group of people, if you will, that control so much of what we do to make our events possible. I think in the years to come, I do think there's going to be a very prolific change in some of the ways that business is done here. There's several antitrust topics that are floating around our industry right now. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But based on the outcome of all of that, I think that will dictate how this business operates and how this business continues to move forward. So it's ever evolving, which to me is sort of exciting. Nobody wants to do the same thing over and over, but it also causes you some nervousness to make sure that we are staying not only being competitive, but we want to be at the top of the heap, and that's always our vision.
Yeah, don't want to have saying hindsight is 2020, coulda, shoulda, woulda. No, you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's this song that compares cities and says DeKalb is not Atlanta, Cobb is not Atlanta, Gwinnett is not Atlanta. They're right, it's not. I mean, Gwinnett is Gwinnett. I mean, we're standing at the top of the heap in so many things. I mean, from our population to the way our government is run, to the way the chamber is run, to the way Gas South District is run. What type of economic impact has the district had on the county?
Yeah, Gwinnett is not Atlanta. Atlanta is not Gwinnett. I think you could use it, on the other way around.
Yeah.
I think Atlanta certainly has so much to be proud of, to be boastful of, all the apparent reasons that we see every day. I'm about that much biased toward Gwinnett, as you might imagine, but Gwinnett has the same opportunity to be proud and to be boastful. And just a couple of things that I think makes Gwinnett unique, and then I'll tell you how that sort of segues into the economic impact. But Gwinnett County is exactly what this country is going to look like in 20 years. The diversity that we have in Gwinnett, and I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday, about diversity in Gwinnett. I said, diversity is not something we talk about in Gwinnett. Diversity is something we celebrate in Gwinnett. We're not just saying we have it, but we have it, and we're so proud to have it. But the people that truly don't understand diversity at this point, as you said earlier, they're just dropping behind. They're not moving forward, they're moving backwards. The diversity that we have is also seen in everything we do at Gas South District. The shows we put on, the meetings we have here are all it represents the entire county. The musical genres that might come, the meeting people that we have here are always looking at how can we entertain the various cultures that come through Gwinnett, who live in Gwinnett, who work in Gwinnett. And to answer the basic question of it, in a project that we're working on now, we had to come up with some sort of economic impact that this campus has created for Gwinnett County. We only went back 10 years in trying to evaluate that impact, and it was over $1 billion.
Wow.
Just here in Gwinnett County.
Wow.
So, I would challenge anybody to come up with a more impressive number than that as to how a particular organization is affecting the economic impact of the area. We're very proud of that number. We actually think it might be better than that. But if you can say $1 billion, you can say that with a very boastful, announcement to anybody who wants to hear it. But it is a huge revenue generator for this county, for the Atlanta area, one that we're so proud of, and we want it to continue for sure.
And it goes back to what you're saying. You're speaking to the heartbeat of our county, the people.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We are like this stat came out during Chairwoman Hendrickson's State of the County.
Mm-hmm.
We are the most diverse county, not in the state, not in the region, in the entire country.
Yes.
Stan, that speaks volumes.
Yeah. And that would scare some people, I think. But that's why I'm always very clear. So I'm born and raised in Gwinnett County. I'm 7 generations in Gwinnett County.
Wow.
The county that I was born in, my dad was born in, my grandfather was born in, doesn't resemble the county that they once knew. And even as a younger child, and even through my teenage years, this county has changed dramatically. Mm-hmm. But this county has changed for the best dramatically. I think that what Gwinnett County has to offer to people that are looking to reposition their companies, all the things that really want to, as you said, address the heartbeat of what not only this county looks like, but what this country is going to look like in 20 years. Mm-hmm. This is the place to do it. And people are starting to see that. We have several Fortune 500 companies that call Gwinnett home, most of them would tell you they're here because of the diversity. So, don't be afraid, be proud, and you will want to make sure we keep moving in that direction.
Embrace it. Now,
Embrace it.
I did a little bit of research because I was going to embrace this interview. I was so excited. We've been talking about this for years. So this next question is a long one.
Okay.
But it's giving you shout outs.
Okay, well, good. I'll take that.
Well, I called you the great Stan Hall, and this is the reason. So your role as president and CEO goes far beyond just Gas South. You're also involved with the Convention Center, Arena, Performing Arts Theater, Gwinnett Sports Commission, Explore Gwinnett, the Mitsubishi Electric Classic, and Coolray Phil. That's a lot. That's cool. How do you manage such a wide range of assets, activities, and how do they all work together to drive what Gwinnett County is?
So I'll tell you how I answer that question, and people do say that to me all the time. They'll walk up and say, my God, you're doing a great job over there with all the stuff you're doing. And I say, well, thank you very much, but it's me and about 400 other people, so, some of who are with us today.
Yeah.
But it is a very wide swath, if you will, of what we do. The way they all work together is sometimes very good and sometimes not so very good, but always working together the best we can. We're all sort of in the same business, if you will, as it applies to the different business lines that we have. So it definitely takes some great communication, I will say that. But we do touch so many different lives, so doing so many different things. But I'll just tell you, Deb, that congratulations, even though I do get it as the leader of our organization. The part that I play in it versus the part that our staff plays in it is really not even comparable. Without them, it would be a bad place to be if only Stan was here and only Stan was getting the comments toward it. But it's all staff related. We've got a great staff. We've got a staff that's experienced in this industry. We did a thing not long ago talking about the average tenure. We've got people that are average in this profession, in this industry of 20 years plus. When you have that kind of talent on your staff, it really is easy to make yourself look good, and you always have to acknowledge where the credit goes.
And you're talking about sports and entertainment.
Sports and entertainment and meeting and events and all the
Yeah.
things, building management, security, all the things that we do that people don't see when somebody's out on the stage performing. Without all of that stuff in the background, none of that would occur.
And of course, it's a business, right?
A business.
Everything's a business. You talked about 400 moving pieces, the team that is the face, but not the face, but yes, the face of what we know as the district. How do you balance the business side while also making sure it remains a real asset to the community, making sure people actually care about what's going on here?
Well, and that's a great question, but I think the obvious answer to that is if you don't know the community, how do you serve the community? I think that we just created a new program that started this year, a community relations program. Even though we've been doing that for a long, long time, we've just never really formalized it. But we always want to be good partners for our community. And I think some people do sometimes look at our organization as you just described. It's a place you go for entertainment. It's a place you go for meetings. But we want to make sure that the community knows that we're much more than that. The creation of the speaker series a few years ago that you're familiar with.
Oh, I love that speaker series.
That was the sole purpose of it, was to put Gas South District, out front in a manner that we've never been before. I mean, having Ambassador Young as our first speaker, we even had people say, why are y'all doing that? And the answer was obvious, is because we should be doing that.
Yeah, why not?
Doing that, getting in front of our community with topics that are not typically what we would deal with, and then trying to really establish a formalized program of dealing with our community and letting them know that we're here, we want to be their neighbor. Again, if you don't know your community, you can't serve it, and it's just that simple.
When you wake up in the morning and you're hyping yourself up, you're like, I'm going to go to work and I'm going to do a great job. I'm going to empower my team. They're going to do a great job. What are the core values that help you move forward that you absolutely swear by?
Yeah.
When you come in, day out?
Well, I'll tell you, and you can believe it or not, but it's the truth. I've only had like 3 real jobs in my life, and all of them have been pretty long terms as I've gone along.
Yeah.
But the 3 that I've had, I've never dreaded going to work, and I think that's just a blessing that so many people can't say even today. Some people go to work because they have to, and certainly that's a real thing. But to be able to get up, as you said, in the morning, start thinking about what your day is going to look like, and you're not dreading it, but you're looking forward to it, that's just a blessing. I don't care where you are in the work spectrum. If you're at the very bottom of the organization, if you're at the very top, if you can have that mindset when you get ready to make your day, it makes all the difference in the world, not only of how you're going to perform, but how those people that are around you are going to perform as well. Because I do think leadership comes from the top. I think habits come from the top, good or bad. The 4 principles that I always try to keep in mind every day, and we've already talked about one of them, is just communication. To me, is the most important thing that any organization can have. Every company, every organization has communication, but it's either good or bad. If it's bad, the organization will never succeed. So communication, collaboration, you talked about the how do all these people come together. It is difficult sometimes, but if you can get all the various business lines to really collaborate among themselves, that takes care of so many problems. And then coordination and cooperation. So basically just the 4 C's. My staff will tell you that I am an animal about acronyms. And I am, and that comes, I think, from my life in government. Government workers are notorious for acronyms.
You love an acronym.
Love acronyms. Where, if it's a task force, if it's a project, you always come up with a code name for it. And I haven't been able to get past that. But those 4 C's that I just described to you, if you can utilize and be successful in those 4, you're going to be successful, your organization is going to be successful, and I believe that with all my heart, for sure. So that's the 4 that I walk out the door of my home every morning and walk into my office thinking about, if I can get these 4 things done today, we're going to be successful.
And that, as you said, it starts from the head and makes its way down. But just knowing you, Stan, you're not a top-down approach guy.
No.
You're a bottom-up. You support everyone regardless of what their title is.
Yeah.
How does that foster, because there are a lot of organizations from the outside that look amazing. I worked in news. And so people are like, oh, you have a great job. But then when you would talk to, some of my former colleagues at any market I worked in, they hated their jobs.
Yeah.
But people here, just in talking with your team, yeah, y'all have a cool job. You work at Gas South. That's just cool in itself on its face. But everyone here seems genuinely happy. How do you encourage that?
Well, I hope that's true.
Yeah.
And we try to do things to sort of take a look at the satisfaction that our staff has. And we're never going to make everybody happy, and I understand. I wish we could, but we never will. But trying to address the needs and concerns of our staff to make it a workplace that they enjoy coming to, that's always got to be a part of what you do every day. But you're right, great leadership, and you think about all the great leaders that we've studied our whole life. If even with the best ideas, if they're at this level, if it doesn't drop down to this level, then it's not going to be successful. My dad told me one time, who I was telling you before we started taping the show today, is my dad will be 90 years old. I still talk to him every day. I listen to what he has to say because he's still a very wise person. And he told me one time about leaders, he said, if you're a leader and you don't have people that will follow you, you're only out there taking a walk. You're not leading anybody. But it's so true. I mean, if you have what ideas you may have, good or bad, but if you can instill those ideas and that visions in your staff, and it has to not only trickle down halfway, it has to trickle down the entire depth of your organization. But if you can get them on board and get them to buy into your vision, along with the additions or subtractions that they may make you aware of that you missed in the beginning, then you're leading from the top, and then it's going all the way to the bottom and back and forth. It's not just this, it has to be back and forth as far as that buy-in to whatever that leadership is. Without that, you're not going to be successful.
And this program, which is also a podcast, Leadership Unscripted, is one of those initiatives that you encourage. Like, you're looking for your successor, you're looking for the next successor. What type of leadership programs internally do you have here?
Yeah, well, so we've got, and I'm so glad you asked that question, because it's something, and talking about acronyms, I can name them off to you because they all have names.
Yeah.
And I won't bore you with that. But we have a senior leadership team that, number one, I would put up against anybody. We get together 2 times a month and talk about any and everything that has to do with this entire organization. And a matter of fact, we have a meeting today. But when we're in that meeting and I look around that room and see the experience and all the talent that's in there, then I'm reminded this is why we're successful, because we have so many people in here that are just so good at what they do. But to your point, I'm always thinking about what's going to happen with this organization when some of those people in that room, start moving on to other things based on retirement, based on whatever it may be. So making sure that we do some way to sustain the success of this organization. We've had various leadership groups come in where we have people from the outside that have nothing to do with our organization come in and give their views on leadership. You mentioned our chairwoman, Nicole, has been over and spoken to this group. But I think that's how you learn about leadership, is hearing it from people who have been doing it, who are doing it. What style do they use? What do they attribute their success to? All of those things. So that is, as I've come toward the end of my career, and I don't know when that's going to be, but it's certainly not as far as away as it has been. I want to make sure that when that time comes, that this organization is dead set in place with people who will continue to make sure that this organization is always the best that it can be. So it's something that's very, very important in our organization, and I think we are working toward that, trying to internally give our younger and middle staff people, as far as their current positions, expose them to leadership and try to understand what it's really all about.
And leadership, and this has been a concurrent theme throughout this conversation, whether in your face or just kind of, under the radar. Leadership is about expecting and accepting change.
Oh, yeah.
Entertainment is one of those industries that is always, it could be loosey-goosey. It could be like, well, what are they going to do next?
It could be.
How do you prepare your folks for something like that? Like the pandemic, that had to affect you all adversely.
Oh God!
Like, seriously.
I could still tear up over the.
Right.
That was the most horrible thing I've ever been involved in. But I will tell you, change is something that I've never been afraid of. I enjoy change, within reason. But I think change is necessary. I think change is required for the evolvement of a person, for an organization, for anything. If you're not willing to change, you're going to be stuck in a place where the rest of the world is going to pass you by. And then not only are you not progressing, but you're sort of recessing in the other direction. But this industry, as you said, continues to change. And I think the only thing that we can do is to always be aware of what the changes are, keeping an eye out in the field for any and everything that's going on in our industry. And some of the folks in this room with us today will tell you that every day is a different day. Something that we thought might have been the rule or the way that things were done on one day, the next day it might change completely. So it's an ever evolving situation that you have to stay abreast of. Again, but I think that's healthy. Sometimes it's frustrating and sometimes it makes you angry, but I do think it's healthy to have the mindset to be able to evolve with whatever comes your way and say, this is not what we were expecting, but here's how we're going to react to it. And that's the only way you can do it.
That's all you can do. And for those folks who are watching, when you heard Stan say the folks in this room, we're talking about some of those 400 team members. We have a live audience. Y'all make some noise so we can hear you. They make this district go round.
They do.
Now, you said when thinking about the pandemic, you have a little bit of PTSD. That was one of those things. How, in those types of situations, when things got tough, and let's talk about the pandemic, how did you handle that?
Well, so let me tell you how quickly that happened. And some of the folks in the room will probably remember this, but let's go back to 2020. In February or March of 2020, we always take a very good look at our financials the previous month. And maybe it was February in 2020, I saw what our financials were. I knew what was on the books for the rest of that year. And I really believe I made the statement to maybe our senior team that I think 2020 might be the best net profit year that we'll ever have. And that was coming off of 2019, which was one of our best years that we've ever had.
Yeah, you did knock on wood.
So you look at February and then look at March, I went from making such a bold statement to, among some very close staff members here, senior staff members, I was telling them, we may have to shut the doors. So we went from that to that in a period of about 30 to 45 days. But this just sort of plays in part about you're talking, how do you deal with things you aren't expecting? And unfortunately, we had to furlough some people. Some people were laid off. Luckily, in time, most of those people were brought back, thank God, because some of the people that we had to furlough, and again, never had to deal with that in my entire life, and having to deal with that and understand the pain that it was causing, not only the staff person, but their family and on and on and on. And it's the most difficult professional challenge I've ever dealt with in, 40 years of work. But, with all bad things, and this is an old saying, but I really believe it's true, when something terrible happens, there's always an opportunity for positivity to come out of it. Again, to the credit of our staff, we started looking at ways, how can we stay in business? The governor had an executive order out where we couldn't even have people in our arena, which is, we always refer to it almost the golden goose of this campus. Couldn't have people come in. We had all of the, safety precautions that were in place. So we started looking at ways we could do things outside. And we did some things in parking lots. Back then, I was reminded of my days as a teenager when you used to go to a drive-in movie. We were trying to figure out ways that we can utilize things in cars and parking lots, and even hosted, and I don't know if you remember this, Deb, but when President Biden was running, he appeared on our campus, and it was a drive-in theater political rally. He was on the stage, but everybody else was sort of secluded in cars. And when something would be said that they thought was a great idea, they'd honk their horns instead of applaud.
Right.
But we improvised, and business was certainly affected by it. There's no doubt about it. But what we did do is keep the doors open. And we were one of the first venues to open the doors back, when things started to ease up a little bit. There was people that went past the COVID year for a long time before they opened their doors back up. But we were very aggressive, very cautious, but also very aggressive that we wanted to get our doors open before anybody else did. And then our business picked back up. But it was a terrible, terrible time for this industry in particular. When you're in the public assembly business and you can't have public to assemble, that makes it very difficult to reach any goal you might have. But thank God we got through it, and hopefully we'll never have to go through that again.
5 years later.
5 years later.
And look what's happened. You have always had vision for where you want this district to go, and of course the folks who work tirelessly with you. What's your why?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons. And I think I can use COVID as an example of the why, as to why we're here, why we do what we do. You saw how civilization really pulled back during the COVID time, where nobody was talking to anybody, nobody was meeting with anybody. All the things like Zoom and Teams and all those things that came up, everybody's walking around with masks over their faces. And for me, it was almost like just a bad movie that you were watching every day that you went out. People were not coming into the office. I am old school enough where I absolutely cannot work from my house. I have to be here. And I came in the whole time, and sometimes there might have been 8 or 10 of us who just had to be here because of the way we operate. But why we do what we do is because people need to have that interconnection. The things we do here are for entertainment, but people don't just come here for the entertainment. They come here to be with people that they enjoy being with, people that they love, to talk about common interests that they have, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a musical performance, whether it's a play on this very stage we're sitting on today. Entertainment and socialization is an integral part of humanity. And once you lose that, you saw how quickly the pullback comes. And I'm telling you, I think that we still haven't really recovered from the COVID recession. And I don't mean economic recession, I mean the recession where people literally pull back. We haven't recovered from that yet. We're so much better than we were. But the business that we're in is, I think it's a necessity for people to really celebrate life, whatever that means to you. We have the mechanism, we have the assets for people to celebrate life. And that's my why.
You aren't going anywhere anytime soon. But
we'll see.
when I say just they, I'm talking about the community, the future leaders in this organization, when they look back on your legacy, what do you want to be remembered for?
Definitely somebody who was fair. Definitely somebody who absolutely valued their opinion. Someone who tried to do what he said he would do with complete understanding that I have failed on more occasions than I would ever want to admit to, but I know I have, and those are always regrets for you. But if they just look at me and say he was someone who was a voice of us, that would suit me just fine.
A man of the people.
Sometimes. Don't ask my wife.
What advice could you give to someone who wants to be a leader, who wants to do this, who wants to?
And this is something that's so important to me. I talk to people who are in very important positions every day, and I'm exposed to leadership styles that are like mine, that are completely different than mine. And if you ask me what my leadership style is, I don't know the answer to that. I know foundationally what it is, but I saw a documentary not long ago about someone that I'm a big fan of, John Baptiste. I don't know if you know who that is, but I love him so much. And he was being criticized because he had been nominated for a Grammy in 5 or 6 different musical genres, and people who performed only in one of those were offended that he had been nominated in that genre because they thought he was a pop star, or they thought he was this, or thought he was that. And when he was asked about that, he said that he refuses to be categorized to a particular genre because when you do that, you've closed the door to some artistic expression that you might want to do in a different genre. So he said, just let them criticize because I'm going to do what I do. I think that's also true in leadership. I think that they are, if you study leadership, there's so many different styles and techniques of leadership. I told you that I've only had 3 real jobs, which means I've only had 3 real bosses in my life. And all of them were so different as far as the leadership styles that they practice. Each of the 3 practiced a pretty regimented style, in my opinion. So I've taken bits and pieces from that, but I've also been very open to look at all styles of leadership. I may say, leadership style X, I don't agree with all that, but there's bits and pieces I really do like. So I think whatever style I have is a culmination of life experience, seeing how other people lead, trying to do some things I wanted to do, and then just rolling that all in a big ball and trying to figure out, how is this style best suits the organization that you're involved in, and then how does it best suit you as far as trying to accomplish some of the goals you have. So, and if somebody asks Deb, what's your leadership style, you would say, I don't know, maybe it's called the Deb leadership, I don't know, but it's based on things that I think will be most beneficial for the organization, how we can achieve our goals. For those people who are aspiring leaders, the one thing I would tell them is, I'm a big reader, and I would tell them, read, 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 read. Not only about leadership, but there's so many things that you can learn from reading that you will never learn without. And I think reading has become a little bit of a fading tool that people think they need. They don't have time to read. And if you don't have time to read, I don't think you have time to learn. And leadership is based on knowledge. Life is based on knowledge. And that's how you achieve all those things, by seeing what people have done, both successfully and unsuccessfully, looking at the way they did it. How can you use that to your benefit? How can you take, again, bits and pieces of what this style does, and roll it all into that ball? And then you decide what your leadership style is going to be. Don't be dictated. Just like what I was talking about with Baptiste, he was not going to allow anybody to tell him, you are a jazz artist, you are a pop star, you're a classical musician. Well, don't have anybody tell you that you're going to be this style or that style or that style, authoritarian, whatever it may be. Servant leadership, all of the things that are out there. Read about it, learn about it, understand it, and then you pick and decide what your leadership style is going to be. Maybe based on one of those, but I would encourage you to make it based on all of those and what works for you.
Dan, this has been a great conversation. Wouldn't you guys agree? What do y'all think?
We'll see what they say when we turn the camera off.
Right, when we don't have hot mics.
When we don't have somebody on.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I've learned a lot just speaking to you about leadership. And, I'm going to use all the buzzwords to describe you. You're a change maker, you're a relationship builder, and you're a catalyst for making things different. But I can use those buzzwords because literally Gas South is the buzz of Gwinnett County. You all draw those different audiences, and we can't thank you enough. Thank you for taking your time.
Thank
you
you
for letting me talk your ear off and ask you all these questions, but most importantly, thank you for having me.
Well, it's been my pleasure, and I appreciate your time, and I appreciate everybody's here today, but thank you so much for your time today.